In the shadows of the digital world, there are groups that do more than just steal data. They influence elections, they target governments, and they operate with the full backing of a nation-state. Today, we're popping the hood on one of the most infamous of them all, APT28. Let's get into the Kremlin's hacking toolbox. Now, before we dive in, I want to be clear about where this info is coming from. Our entire analysis is built on the technical report from the MITRE-ATT&CK framework, specifically for the group they track as G0007. This is pretty much the gold standard for this stuff, so you know we're working with solid, fact-checked details. All right, first up, Section 1. Let's meet Fancy Bear and really get a profile of this state-sponsored threat. So, who exactly are these guys? You've probably heard of them, maybe as AP28 or Fancy Bear or even Strontium. They've got a lot of names. But what matters is who they work for. And all signs point to Russia's GRU Military Intelligence Directorate, specifically Unit 26165. We're not talking about a criminal enterprise here. This is a literal arm of a nation's military. They have goals, resources, and a mission. And if you need any proof of how high the stakes are, look no further than this. This is probably their most famous operation, the 2016 hack of the Democratic National Committee. Their goal wasn't just to steal some files. It was a direct attempt to interfere with the U.S. presidential election. This shows you that their operations are designed to shape global events. So how does an operation of that magnitude even begin? Well, it starts long before the actual attack. That brings us to Section 2, casing the joint. This is all about reconnaissance and getting their resources in order. You see, great hacks are all about the prep work. They'll use LLMs to gather intel on their victims. They'll run phishing for information campaigns just to harvest login credentials for later. They get really sneaky by registering domains that look almost identical to legitimate ones, like NATO or other organizations, to trick people. And of course, they acquire their tools, including nasty little programs like MITRE-ATT&CK, which is famous for pulling passwords right out of a computer's memory. Okay, the prep is done, the trap is set, it's go time. Let's move to Section 3, the digital break-in. How do they actually get a foot in the door? Turns out, they have two favorite ways of doing this. On one hand, you've got the classic spear phishing attack, sending those super targeted emails with a malicious Microsoft Office document attached. But on the other hand, they can go for a more direct route, exploiting vulnerabilities in public-facing applications. Think of it as the difference between tricking someone into letting you in versus just picking the lock on the front door. And here's a perfect example of them picking the lock. They've been known to exploit CVE 2020-0688, a serious vulnerability in Microsoft Exchange servers. The scary part about this, it lets them gain control without a single person having to click on a bad link. They can just walk right in through the digital front door. So they're in, but getting caught on the inside is just as bad as getting stopped at the door. What happens next is crucial. Welcome to Section 4, moving through the shadows, where it's all about execution, persistence, and evasion. And this is where they get really clever. They love a technique called living off the land, which means they use tools that are already on your computer to do their dirty work. They hijack legitimate, powerful system utilities like PowerShell and rundll32.exe to run their malicious code. To a security system, it can look just like normal administrative activity, which is the perfect camouflage. Now, to make sure they don't get kicked out, they need to set up shop. They'll install a web shell on a server for backdoor access, or use registry run keys to make sure their malware starts up every time the machine does. To stay hidden, they'll use a technique called timestamp to change the timestamps on their files to make them look old and benign. And for the ultimate persistence, they might deploy a rootkit like LoJax, which infects the computer's core firmware. It is incredibly difficult to detect, let alone remove. And of course, no professional operation is complete without cleaning up the evidence. It's like a burglar wiping away their fingerprints. Here you can see the exact commands they use to do it. First, weavitel claw system erases the system logs, and then weavitel claw security wipes the security logs. Poof. It's like they were never there. So they're in, they've made themselves at home, and they've covered their tracks. Now for the main event, the reason they're there in the first place. Section 5. The heist and getaway. This is what it's all been building towards. First, they collect the data. They might use keylogging to capture passwords as they're typed, or just start searching through internal networks like SharePoint. Next, they have to package it all up. They'll use common tools like WinRAR to compress everything into a single file. And finally, the getaway. They'll exfiltrate the data using services that blend right in with normal traffic, like uploading it to Google Drive or sending it out over encrypted HTTPS. Okay, we've just walked through the anatomy of a single attack. But what happens when you zoom out and look at all of their activity? What does their operational fingerprint look like? That's what we're digging into in Section 6, the hacker's fingerprint. And yeah, the data tells a very clear story. Just look at this chart. While they can and do hit other platforms, the overwhelming majority of their tools and attacks are built for one thing: Windows. This is their primary battleground. They are absolute Windows specialists. So what do they spend most of their time and effort on? Well, this donut chart breaks it down perfectly. Their number one tactic, by a good margin, is defense evasion. Just think about that. Their top priority is staying hidden. That's followed closely by collection and credential access. The whole story is right there. Get in, stay quiet, and steal the goods. And that kind of leaves us with one final pretty chilling thought to wrap this all up. We've just spent all this time breaking down the attacks that we know about, the ones that were eventually discovered. But if their absolute top priority is evasion, what does that say about the operations we haven't found yet? What are the attacks that we just don't see? And that's our tour inside APT28's digital toolbox. Hey, if you found this explainer valuable and you want to see more deep dives like this one, clicking that like button and subscribing is a huge, huge help for us. It really allows us to keep production going. Thanks for watching.